Well, staying with our coverage, in collaboration with the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, the Department of Social Development and various other strategic partners, the National Lottery Commission, will for the next 2 days host a National Indaba. It's under the theme Effective Regulation and Funding Through Digitization. Let's cross back to SABC News anchor Leanne. She's standing by in Boksburg once again. Leanne, compliance standards, future-proofing, long-term strategy. I know that a lot has been discussed, a lot more still remains unanswered, but talk to us a little bit more about what's transpiring as that continues on day 2.
All right, thanks very much, Lisa. Well, we can see everybody now. When we first arrived here, it was very, very quiet, but you can see that people have now started to arrive and get ready for this Indaba that's expected to take place. I want to get straight into my interview now. Jodi Scholtz is the Commissioner of the National Lotteries Commission, and she is our guest now on the program. Pleasure to have you, Commissioner. Thank you so very, very much for joining us.
Good morning, Leanne. Good morning to your viewers.
So I want to get into the delay in having this Indaba. It was first held in 2011, then consecutively in 2013 and 2015, and in 2017. But it's now taken quite a while to have this one. The delay, and perhaps let's talk to this one.
Thank you. So I think COVID had a bit to do with it. And then when I joined in 2023, it was on the agenda. Institutionally, we've needed to do a bit of a clean-up. I think the Lotteries Commission's woes are well reported in the media.
Very much so, yes, indeed.
And so we've needed to put systems in place. We've needed to, discipline a few individuals. We've needed to look at our systems of internal control. We've had to embed ethics and morality as part of the work. And so all of that has taken a bit of time. And so today is about a social dialogue, having a conversation with our beneficiaries, our stakeholders, our grantees about how can they help us influence the strategic intent of the National Lotteries Commission.
So obviously, I mean, I spoke quite a lot to the chair, and he was very sort of transparent in terms of the investigations, where they're at, the NPA, the problems internally, and how we are hoping that we're going to see some changes and movement. But I think one of the biggest issues as well, indeed, is the regaining and the rebuilding of trust, because that, I think, is one of the center themes here as well. So how do you plan on doing this? How are you working to rebuild this trust with both the public and the non-profit sector?
Yes, and so we know that trust is indeed fragile.
Yeah.
And so today it's about having those conversations, having honest conversations about what it is that we're doing. We've also launched an online grant application system that helps restore accountability, legitimacy. Today is also about inclusivity. We've invited a range of our grantees from across the funding focus areas, which is arts, charities, sports, to have conversations with us about what are their challenges and how we can assist them in terms of making sure that funding goes to those worthy good causes.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's, again, I emphasize that these are the people that need it more than anybody else, and yet Absolutely. The problem with the past is that they have not been receiving it. So I want to talk to the digitization process and how this and the development and enhancement of that can possibly almost take the human element out of it, so that perhaps the corruption can be stopped due to the digitization of all of this. Talk to us about those mechanisms.
Absolutely. So when we looked at the design of our modernization program, so it's not just about bringing in an online grant application system, it's also automating a lot of our business processes. Yeah. Finance is still very manual, and all of those, so automating that. And so the digitization journey that we've embarked on, we've got what we call API partners, application programming interface partners. So our system pings in the back end with CIPC, with the Department of Social Development, with Home Affairs in terms of ID numbers. We're busy talking to one of the big banks in terms of making sure that they also come on board. And we've been stress testing those interfaces this last 2 weeks.
Yeah. And do you feel confident that that is one of the mechanisms, and I mean one, because there obviously are a lot more, that can ensure that there is transparency in all of this, and that this can hopefully stop the fraud and mismanagement?
Absolutely. So we figure it would get rid of about 87% of the actual fraud.
That is insane.
Because what we've done is we've looked at all of the control deficiencies that the SIU have identified, that our own internal auditors identified, that we as a management team have picked up. So we've had to revise policies. So the system, we've embedded in the system all of these controls. We've also embedded a number of ISO standards in the system. One of the big things we're also wanting to do is to go for ISO 37001 accreditation. We've done our self-assessment. There were two minor areas, training manuals, that we needed to beef up. We've already done that, and so we're busy bringing in a service provider to do this for us so that we can get external accreditation, and which also then helps build trust and give independent assurance.
Yeah, which is vital. And I also want to just talk a little bit about NPOs, because one of their responses and feedback to all of this is that they really struggle to get compliance, because from reporting requirements to understanding the NPO Act and all of these kind of things. What support are you offering so that they don't fall through the cracks? Because these are legitimate NPOs that just, they are so stretched.
Yes.
They're trying to help, and all of the red tape doesn't make it any easier.
So we've done targeted education and awareness sessions in areas. So we've got the data now, and we can see where individuals have applied online, but they haven't put their application through. So they've registered, but they haven't put the application through. And so we do targeted education and awareness in those specific areas. We go to community halls and we say to individuals, bring your information with us. We also have our partners. So we have DSD, the Department of Social Development. We've even had 5 of their staff members sitting in the Lotteries Commission, working with us to help NPOs become compliant.
Wonderful. But also there's the issue of we're living, unfortunately, in a major connectivity and digital literacy challenged country, unfortunately, and this is the way it is. How do you assist? Because there are, yes, we're in Johannesburg and, whatever it is, you're part of a buzz, but there are many organizations that live out in the rural areas and work in very underdeveloped and under-resourced areas. How do you assist them with the digitization?
So we've partnered with Chieta. They've got these smart skills centers, and so we ask our grantees to go to these venues, and we can then assist them. So it's a lot of education and awareness, but there's also a very strong capacity building component. That is one of the areas we're wanting to focus on, is how do we bridge this digital divide? Because we are finding that, for instance, our system needs 4G. So when some of our grantees were complaining to us, for instance, and saying, the system is not working, we then started unpacking why. And we then realized in many rural areas there's 3G connectivity. So our CIO, she's busy liaising with all of the big service providers so that we can unpack and make sure that people in deep rural areas are able to access our system, which is 0 rated at the moment.
Very final question, one that I cannot let go, because as we wrap, because very quickly spoken about yesterday was the growth of online gambling and the illicit outflows of money and the problems associated. Can you give us an idea and an understanding of the problem?
So what we're picking up is that there's illegal lotteries, and they're just popping up all over the show. But this is a global problem, and so we had a few international speakers yesterday sharing with us, for instance, what's happening in other parts of Europe, for instance, and the Americas. So it is a global problem, and what we've done is we've invited the National Consumer Commission to also have discussions about how can we engage in consumer awareness. So we're needing to collaborate so that we can tackle this as a country, because it is a global problem, and there is an immense amount of exploitation of poor and vulnerable individuals. So it's not just about the fun economy, which is what lotteries and gambling are collectively known as. But in South Africa, because we've got such a high incidence of poverty and unemployment and inequality, people are really desperate.
Absolutely.
And so how can we manage and make sure that responsible gaming and responsible gambling standards are an integral part of the work that we do?
Commissioner, thank you. You've got your work cut out for you today. I'm glad that we could get a conversation in with you just to get an idea of what it is you're working at. Good luck.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with us. This, of course, is the NLC Commissioner, Jodi Scholtz, talking to us about some of the issues that we see around the National Lottery, but also the work that's being done to rectify it and to ensure that we move into this digital age in the right way. 87% that we can get rid of fraud. Wow. Put it in today. Do it, Commissioner. We need that. Okay, I'm saying goodbye to you from here. We have got such a busy news cycle. I'm handing it back to the Auckland Park studio.